party has always been the organized force which has saved the country and socialism. From the closing speech at the 7th plenum of the CC of the PLA, September 21st, comrades. In the previous plenums of the Central Committee of the party, we have discussed the extremely dangerous and complicated activity of the multiple agent Mehmet Shehu and his group, and have adopted the respective decisions. Here, I do not intend to dwell once again on the history of all those events, because the party not only was informed about them, but also laid all the information openly before the public about how events occurred, how they developed, and all other details. Also, I'm not going to dwell on the curiosities which emerged during the court proceedings, but at this meeting of the plenum, I want to put the stress on some questions which must be understood better and taken into consideration properly. The sentences passed by the respective courts are just, based on written sources and the admissions of defendants and the depositions of witnesses. We hear, Enver Hoxha, however, that there are people who are not satisfied with the court sentences because they wanted all of them to be shot. Such people do not think soundly. Our party judges mistakes, offenses, and crimes taking account of all circumstances, aggravating or attenuating, and knows how to differentiate between mistakes, offenses, and crimes, and must always do so. Otherwise, law would not be respected. In our people, state power court decisions have never been taken in a spirit of revenge, but have been the equanimous deduction of a strong logic based on Marxist-Leninist dialectics, which in each case is aimed at uncovering the hostile activity, at exposing it politically and organizationally, and relying on facts, at interpreting the penal code correctly and with a cool head. Equanimity and great correctness in the implementation of the line of the party in various internal and external situations, sized up with political acumen and based on the principles of Marxism-Leninism, have vital importance for the destinies of our socialist homeland. Only such an analysis of the facts and decisions taken in this political and ideological spirit are the most correct and serve the strengthening of the dictatorship of the proletariat in our country, and the strengthening of bonds and unity between the party and the masses of the people. The uncovering, exposing, and smashing of the group of secret agents, plotters, and terrorists headed by Mehmet Shehu and Kadri Hasbiu is a great victory for our party, our people, and our socialist homeland. This is a major lesson for everybody. Therefore, as a party, as communists, and as a people, we should reflect deeply on these events, the aims and methods the enemy has used. Everyone must be aware that the party and the country once again coped successfully with a major threat that came from outside and from within. The party has saved the country and socialism. 729. There are people who are surprised and say, "We've had a narrow escape. We have been in danger." The danger was great indeed, but we must be aware that we did not escape from it by chance. With its constant struggle, the party has always been the organized force which has saved the country and socialism and defeated the great and many forces of external enemies, internal reaction, and secret agencies which acted on their orders. Without going further back than 1939, under the leadership of the party, our people have waged a continuous, relentless struggle of titanic proportions with arms, with politics, with ideology for 42 years on end. The enemies could not conquer us, nor will they ever bring us to our knees. The external enemies and their secret agents within the country wanted very much Albania to change its correct course. But the line of the party has been defended with vigilance. The capitalist and revisionist propaganda has blown the big bugles against us. The UDB, the KGB, and the CIA have urged their Albanian agents to act. And these tried in full consciousness and did act several times to harm the party and the people's state power in an organized manner, sometimes in separate groups, sometimes in collusion. It is an historically known fact that our party has coped successfully with all the difficult situations it has been faced with. Why has this occurred? This is not the merit of one or five individuals, but the merit of the whole party and people. All the traitor groups have had one common dento: divert the party from its Marxist-Leninist revolutionary line and to usurp the state power, to make it a state of the bourgeoisie and the country dependent on the capitalist and revisionist foreign powers. No one should befog or cast into oblivion this 42-year, 730, Enver Hoxha. Long period of struggle or fail to draw lessons and conclusions from it. The struggle of our party from the day it was born has been glorious, despite all difficulties. It is not a tale, but a guide to progress. Throughout their history, our people have had many enemies. When the Albanian people were fighting arms in hand against the Nazi-fascist occupiers and their collaborators, the Anglo-American imperialists were again scheming to partition our country. These schemes, which figure in the old plans and files of the imperialist powers, are mentioned in international records. They knew that the new people's state power which was being set up in the new Albania would reduce their ambitions to dust and ashes. So they did hot recognize our government and did their utmost to prevent us from occupying the place we deserved in the international forums. Our democratic government struggled for and won its rights in the international arena. This struggle was not accidental. As Marxists, we differentiated between our allies in the anti-fascist war. However, we trusted our close friends and allies, the Yugoslavs and the Soviets, who, taking advantage of their intimacy with us, secretly furthered their own hostile aims, which they eventually manifested with brutal actions against us. We must always bear in mind that the strategy of the capitalist, imperialist, social imperialist, and revisionist states has been constantly directed against Albania. So much, more now and in the future, it is and will be hostile to our country, as the only country in which scientific socialism is being faithfully built according to the great Marxist-Leninist principles. When it comes to their tactics, then it's a different matter. Our country pursues a foreign policy independent of any power or superpower. This is in the interest of many states for various reasons, and because of the changing political situations and the contradictions they have. The party has saved the country and socialism 731 with one another, so they often smile at us or praise us. This should not deceive us or lull us to sleep for any moment or at any time. We too have our strategy and tactics. Our strategy, at any time and in any circumstances, is unchangeable. On the internal plane, we are for the complete construction of socialism, for the defense of the homeland and the gains of our revolution. On the external plane, we are for the overthrow of the capitalist and imperialist state and for the triumph of the socialist revolution and communism. This we do not conceal, but fight openly and resolutely, unremittingly exposing the modern revisionists of any shape as secret agents and ideological supporters of imperialism. As for our tactics, it is constantly worked out in accordance with the changing political circumstances in the international situations and relations, while never losing sight of our strategy, never violating the Marxist-Leninist principles of the revolution and the class struggle, never swerving from the line of our foreign policy, worked out and decided on by the congresses of the party. On the basis of the Leninist principle of coexistence, we have diplomatic relations and develop trade, cultural, and other exchanges with many countries. In this context, and taking account of the old and new ambitions of the capitalist and revisionist states towards Albania, we have always followed and must continue to follow their secret activities against our country with vigilance, so that we can always cope with them and nip them in the bud. The capitalist and revisionist states and their secret agencies have acted separately or jointly as their interests required, but always with the one aim, to annex our territories and to turn them into their military outposts, as well as to liquidate true socialism which is being built in our country. Enver Hoxha, our party and people, along with the struggle against their capitalist or revisionist external enemies, have also waged the struggle to expose and liquidate their secret agents inside the country or those who had penetrated into the party. The period of the National Liberation War was a key in which some contingents of secret agents and spies were smashed and dealt mortal blows, but on the other hand, other secret agencies were revived or created anew, in conformity with and in view of the new situations that were being created in the Second World War in Albania and in other countries. The contingents of spies in the pay of Italy and Germany and part of the Anglo-American secret agents were smashed during the National Liberation War. The contingents of secret agents in the service of the Serbs and Greeks and the remainder of the secret agents in the service of the Anglo-Americans saved their skins by joining the National Liberation Front. They covered their tracks on orders from their patrons. The Titoite group inherited all the Albanian secret agents in the service of the Serbs, and during the National Liberation War, increased their ranks with new recruits. All the Yugoslav Titoite secret agents, from Kochi Shoks to Mehmet Shehu and Kadri Hasbiu, were recruited during and after the war. All this secret agency was covered up by the Titoites under the cloak of Marxist-Leninist friendship and joint anti-fascist war and the work for the construction of socialism. But their true aim was to annex the new Albanian state, to make it the Seventh Republic of the Yugoslav Federation. So they wanted not only to keep Kosovo and the other Albanian regions, but also to gobble up the whole of Albania. The Soviets, likewise, built their secret network mainly in the ranks of the armymen, because the Soviet Union, the party has saved the country in socialism, 733, and the Khrushchevite revisionist leadership needed Albania mainly as a military outpost in this neuralgic zone of the Mediterranean, etc. For a period there was a motley of secret agencies, on the face of it friendly, but in reality hostile to one another. The Yugoslav secret agency predominated for some time until 1948, when Kochi Say and his associates were liquidated. Then, the Soviet secret agency strengthened its positions. If you sell your country only once, you are ready to sell it many times over to one enemy or the other, or to all of them at the same time. This is the impasse and the mentality of secret agents and spies. Mehmet Shehu, an agent in the pay of the Anglo-Americans, became the secret agent of the Yugoslavs. Then he and Kadri Hasbiu and company, from agents of the Yugoslavs, became agents. All these groups were manipulated by the expert hands of foreign secret agencies, which acted in coordination to implement their general strategy against the Party of Labor of Albania and Socialist Albania. But they also acted separately and often in contradiction and rivalry with one another, and with different tactics in different political situations, and everyone for his own interests. While preserving its contingents, the CIA passed some of its secret agents to the Yugoslavs. The intelligence Service did the same. Our party has had to cope with this great hostility, to fight against intrigues raised to a system, to avoid the traps set up by the plotters, to defend itself against putches and foil attempts at a reoccupation of our homeland. Moreover, it has had to conduct its struggle also in the unhealthy atmosphere created in moments of decisive changes, when the friend of yesterday was only a potential enemy. Enver Hoxha, our external enemies and their secret agencies within the country and within the party undervalued the strength of the party, its revolutionary skill, and were dealt lethal blows in succession. This hostile work represented a chain of activities which only the sword of the party could sever one by one, as it did. But it would be an unpardonable mistake to think that the class struggle within the party and outside it, any form it appears, in the form of struggle against groups, plots, sabotage, or even in the form of struggle against any manifestation alien to our society and people, will come to an end with this purge. It is our duty not to fall asleep. Comrades, we must bear in mind that the situation in the world, and indeed not very far from us, is very turbulent. The capitalist and revisionist countries are in a deep economic and political crisis. The situation is not any better in the neighboring countries either. The situation in Yugoslavia is becoming more and more critical and poses a threat to our country and the Balkans. Therefore, a high political, economic, and military vigilance is required from us. Abiding by the line of the party in the foreign policy, and never for a moment departing from its strategy, the Central Committee of the party and the government carefully work out the tactics and stands of our state in its relations with other states. With an active policy and a propaganda based on undeniable truths, the authority and prestige of our party and socialist state has grown higher and higher, not only in the broad progressive opinion, but also among many official political, economic, cultural, scientific, and other circles. World reaction, whether or not in power, hates our system of the dictatorship of the proletariat and the party has saved the country and socialism. 5. Party of Labor of Albania, which leads this small country and fights them with all possible means. Our enemies accuse us of having isolated ourselves, but their aim is that socialist Albania should open itself up, that is, should be a prey to the neighbors and to the imperialist, capitalist, and revisionist states. World reaction fears small Albania, not because of the number of its population, not because of the size of its territory or because of its armaments, but because of its ideology and policy, which make our people vigorous, strong, and unconquerable. World reaction fears socialist Albania also because it is determined to resist to any attacks. It is not so easily swallowed, and anyone who dares to carry the fire into our land will be burned in it, and we are convinced that we shall win. The outside threat has always existed, and secret activities against our country have always been carried out, and we should never for a moment overlook them in the future. The enemy does not lay down its weapons, but we do not lay down our weapons either. We are inflexible about this and will be so in the future too. All these things that are happening around us, outside and inside our country, the crises of the capitalist and the revisionist world, the plots against our country, the pressure, blackmail, and blockades which may eventually be intensified against us should make our whole party and people to be alert, ready, and vigilant, fully mobilized at work, and very watchful. Only with the fulfillment and overfulfillment of plans, only with savings and economy, with scientific organization and management shall we cope with the political and economic pressure of the capitalist and revisionist world. Shall we guarantee and maintain a level of material well-being that will make socialist Albania and the party people, Enver Hoxha, unity stronger, the people happier, and the future of the younger generations more secure. Everyone must reflect deeply, not superficially, and open his eyes and exercise vigilance, but the vigilance of a revolutionary party and not a morbid vigilance. The correct understanding and implementation of the line of the party favors neither liberalism nor sectarianism, both of which are dangerous tendencies at any time and in any situation. When we speak about major problems of principle and about respecting the party norms, these are not slogans to be chanted, while acting differently in practice, without controlling ourselves at every moment and in every action, and without allowing our comrades and relatives to control us. This has nothing to do with safety control. Ours is control by society, control by life, confrontation with the norms of our party and our socialist society. Departure of any communist or cadre from the norms of the party and avoidance of social control not only damages the reputation of the party, but also has consequences to the violator of these norms. The enemy begins to compromise our people, beginning from trifles, from financial transgressions to the breach of communist morality and other offenses. Personal and social vigilance, both by the party and by the masses, should be active in this situation. Vigilance should not be understood as a monopoly or the duty of a party forum or state organism only, but as a problem for everyone, for every communist and citizen of the Republic. Revolutionary vigilance, trust and check up, keeps the situation healthy. Morbid vigilance weakens it. The former creates confidence and clarity. The latter creates uncertainty and mistrust. The former educates. The latter miseducates. We must always bear in mind that violations of the party has saved the country and socialism, 737. Party norms, small waverings in its line, even when they appear as minor manifestations, may accumulate and actually become waverings in the line. and then, from petty bourgeois actions and ways of thinking, develop into opposition to the party line, to the norms of society, and to socialism which we are building in our country. If there is no vigilance, and if these violations are not treated correctly and in due time, with all the means and forms which the party has created on the basis of a long experience, these concessions and waverings lead to the weakening of the class struggle, which is a decisive factor for the advance of our society. Hence, the ever more profound and broad understanding of the need to observe the norms of the party and of its leading role everywhere, without excluding the organs of the dictatorship of the proletariat, comes even more to the fore. The party should not permit anyone in any sector to misuse the powers or the functions he is invested with. Carelessness and indifference in this direction are very dangerous to the party, society, and our socialist state. Comrades, this major struggle over many decades has convinced our people that their strength in the confrontation with the enemies lies in the Marxist-Leninist line of the party, in its unity, in the unity of the party with the people, in the successes this line has made possible for the construction of a truly socialist society, uninterruptedly enriching the consciousness and nature of people and increasing the material blessings of the country. We must now carry this situation further ahead. This is our duty, and only ours. It is the mission of the historical bat. 38. Enver Hoxha, period through which we have lived and are living, and this mission must be clear to the coming generations, which must take it over from us unstained. Therefore, we must always keep our party pure, defend it from dangers and distortions, and strengthen politically, ideologically, and organizationally. Long live the party. Always vigilance, Vol. It.